everyone, I'm Pine and welcome to Dropzone. What is Dropzone, you ask? I like to call it Warcraft 3 but in space and without units or buildings. It just entered Steam Early Access a couple of days ago. It was in a closed beta before that though, so it's been around a little longer, and this is what it looks like. So this is actually pre-recorded footage. Usually I play live, but this game is way too demanding to play and commentate at the same time for me. So here we go, that's a match I recorded earlier today, and I'm gonna explain what's going on. So it's a competitive 1v1, well, not necessarily 1v1, but this mode is 1v1. Well, strategy game. It's kind of a mix of a MOBA and a real-time strategy game. You play with 3 heroes basically, which can level up, and there are no buildings, no units whatsoever. You just have these 3 heroes, and your opponent has 3 heroes as well. And the goal of the game is to get cores and cash them in at a certain cash-in point, basically. And you get victory points for that, and you also gain victory points for certain side objectives. And whoever has the most victory points after 50 minutes wins. At least in this game mode. There are other game modes as well, but right now this is the main game mode. So yeah, that's how it works. If there's a draw at the 15-minute mark, there will be an overtime, and whoever gets the next point will win. Okay, so this will be a little hard to follow probably at first, because I'm skipping around on the screen quite a bit, because obviously I'm controlling more than one unit, and it's actually very beneficial in this game to split up. So basically I have 3 units. I have a supporter, which is this guy you can see on the screen right now, Bluetooth. I have a tank, Warhead, and I have a gunner called Vanguard. There's a 4th class in the game, it's called a summoner, which is basically a mage, and you can choose different composition of heroes, and you also can equip them with different gear. I'm gonna go more into detail about that in the second part of this video, where we'll show you the main menu and the lobby and stuff like that. So let's focus on the gameplay so far. So you see me slaying a lot of NPC thingies. Basically those give XP and they drop cores, and you get to get cores. The cores are the purple thingies. Every hero can, or every rig they're called, so they are pilots piloting rigs, and every rig can carry 1 core, and you have to cash in the cores in the middle of the map, which you can see on the mini-map. And there we go, I'm fighting one enemy. He's running away though, because it's 3v1, so not good for him. And yeah, that's how you get points. Every core is 1 victory point, and also there are side objectives. As I mentioned earlier, they're in the lower left of the screen. They are randomized every game, and in this game we have first blood, so I get 1 victory point, or whoever gets the first kill on an opponent gets 1 extra victory point. Total vision, there are 4 vision points on the map. You can conquer them, and they give you, like, basically they give you, yeah, well, an area of vision, I guess. And if you get all of them at the same time, you will gain the total vision objective, which gives you 2 victory points. And it doesn't matter if you lose the points afterwards. When whoever gets all 4 at once first will get the objective and will keep those points. And the third bonus objective in this one is Alpha Strike, which means you have to kill whoever kills 9 alphas first. Alphas are a strong version of the NPCs. I think they don't spawn until later in the game though. Whoever gets 9 of those first gains 4 victory points. So we have a team fight here. You can see I get a kill there, and I drop a wall, which is basically a CC. The crowd control skill, and that fight went pretty well, but now the wall is blocking me, so that's not great. So that went very well, but so far we're up, like we're even in points. I have a big level advantage there. You can see on the lower upper right, I have a squad, like above me. I have a squad level of 7, and my opponent over there has one of 5, and that means that the combined level of all my heroes is 7. So they all start at 1, so you start with a squad level at 3, and whenever you gain XP, you can choose 1 hero to level. So they share the same XP pool, and you can choose to level whoever you want. So you can just level 1 hero up and keep the others on a low level, or you can split it up, whatever you like. And there's a certain amount of strategy to that. And I think the maximum level is 5, where most rigs also unlock a special ability, like an ultimate skill basically. Every rig has up to 3 active abilities and up to 3 passive ones, and some of the actives can be passive as well. You can, like, those skills depend on the gear you choose for the rig though. So as I mentioned, I'm gonna explain that later. One thing though, one thing I want to mention now though, is every skill has a level to it, an unlock level. So you don't choose to unlock skills, you unlock them with level, and depending on which gear you choose, you get a different skill, and depending on the skill unlock level, you unlock that skill later. So you can choose to give one of your rigs only level 1 skills, so he will start with all skills available from the start, or you can choose to give them all level 3 skills, so he will start without any active abilities and have to level up to level 3 before using any of them, or you can make a mix between those, obviously, which is usually probably a good idea, I think. And that creates a certain amount of strategy and complexity to the game, which is definitely interesting. So you see me slaying this thingy here, getting some cores. I actually have too many cores now. I have to leave 1 core behind. But I also noticed that the enemy is cashing in, so I'm trying to get a drop on them. I'm not maneuvering perfectly for that though. I blocked the entry or the exit for them. However, I didn't realize at that point, I think, that the wall is actually blocking me as well. So now my support is kind of stuck there. We swapped sides though, so yeah, I'm on the opponent's side. And I completely fuck up my micro here, and my Vanguard is pretty far in. But I got the kill anyway. But Vanguard, who is my damage dealer, the gunner, goes down because I take way too, I had him up way too far up front. And probably, I'm not sure. Do I continue fighting here? I mean, it's tank and support versus tank and support. He actually has the same rigs as I have, I think. No, I think he has a different tank actually. Yeah, he has Vice as a tank. So that didn't went too well for me because he's capable of cashing in now. But I still have 2 cores and will be able to deliver them. Still, when he delivers that core, he has 6 victory points to go, and I can only cash in those 2. Well, actually, he tries to score in another one. I try to catch him off guard here again, focusing the tank unfortunately, and he draws me in with some kind of CC skill. I take a lot of damage, but I think I take down the tank. I'm not sure if my support is gonna survive that. No, it doesn't seem like it, but there's my gunner coming in for the damage, and oh, I lose the tank. That's actually bad. But I got the kill there as well, so it kind of works, especially because the enemy has all his guys dead for more than 20 seconds, and my gunner is alive and can cash in all those cores, which will bring me ahead to 7-6. At 7-6, which is really good. I also got first blood earlier, so I got that 1 victory point, 1 extra victory point. So that worked out fairly okay. Important is that I have a level advantage here. I'm at level 8 and the opponent is at level 7. So that's definitely very, very important for the game. Keep your level advantage. Team fights are not that, they're important, but it's not, the goal of the game is not to win a team fight. Similar to in a MOBA, where the goal is not to kill the enemies, the goal is to kill the base. In this game, the goal is to cash in those cores, and winning a team fight can help, but it's not necessarily the best thing not necessarily the thing you want to do in all situations. In some situations, it's just not worth it for you to fight, even if the chances are good you win the fight, because maybe you carry cores around and your opponent is not, and you risk losing them, for example, stuff like that. So let's talk about the timer actually, because there's one other MOBA I played in my life, which has a fixed time limit, and that's Arena of Fate. And in that game, I really love the timer. It's really amazing. In Arena of Fate, you gain victory points for killing enemies, killing towers, and killing the boss. And in Arena of Fate, whoever has the most victory points at the end of the timer will win the match, obviously, same as here. But there's no overtime, so when you draw, you draw. There's an actually draw in the game. Which is not the case here. As I mentioned earlier, there's an overtime, and whoever gets the next victory point wins the game. There's one other big difference. Like, the thing why the victory point system in Arena of Fate is so amazing and creates really intense moments is because it's really, getting those points is something you can do quickly. You can take down a tower, you can kill enemies, you can take down the boss. There's all things you can usually do fairly quickly. Well, maybe not taking out the boss, that requires some preparation. But then again, the boss gives so many points that you usually prepare that a little earlier. Here's a big team fight though. I get my tank in. Try to get some CCs off, but in generally this teamfight doesn't work out too well with my crew. Actually, okay, I got my gunner out and killed the support. Well, that was lucky, I guess, or well played. I'm not sure. Probably a mix of those two. Anyway, we both killed one. Didn't really do much for me. So this teamfight is not beneficial for me, especially because I think I lost the core, didn't I? I probably did. So in Arena of Fate, as I said, gaining those victory points is a quick thing. So when the game, let's say you're 1 point behind or 2. And the game is getting close to the end, you will go in all in. You will try to force team fights or try to backdoor a tower or try to take out the boss if you're desperate for the big amount of victory points it gives. And nice, I got another kill there. That was really good, which will allow me to score now. It didn't give me a another core or anything. So I think killing rigs is not giving you XP either. So actually team fighting is really just helping you doing the other things. It's not helping you directly, it's just helping you by keeping your enemy out of the field. And yeah, as I said, in Arena of Fate, sorry, I'm skipping this a little bit because I'm trying to commentate at the same time. In Arena of Fate, when the game gets close, you take those big, huge risks and try to get those victory points in the last few seconds. And that's not, like, it's still kind of true for this game, but it doesn't work as well because cashing in those those cores takes way longer. Like, there's this timer going on, and you have, yeah, sure, there will probably still situations similar to the ones I loved in Arena of Fate, where it gets really intense and you try to, like, you take those high risk, high reward plays in the last few minutes of the match, but it's less likely to happen here because you have, like, it's not enough to just engage the opponent and fight him. Instead, you have to get those cores in, and that will take some time because it channels for multiple seconds until you finish the core. It doesn't work as well. It's still, I think it's still a good system, but it's not as genius as in Arena of Fate. The advantage, obviously, of a fixed game time, or, well, it's not even fixed, that's the other downside. It's not really fixed. It's kind of fixed because games will not usually drag on for longer than 20 minutes or so, because, well, usually someone will gain a victory point at some point, I imagine. But still, having the timer in there, one of the big benefits is to have a fixed game time, which allows players to plan their matches out and, okay, the game will not take longer than 15 or 20 minutes or whatever your timer is. And I know I have to go to some meeting or whatever in 30 minutes, but right now I have time, so I can finish this match in time. While in other mobile like League of Legends or Dota 2 or whatever, you will sit there and think, okay, this match could be over in 20 minutes or will drag on for 50 minutes, and I don't know. And so that's really cool. That's one of the biggest benefits of a timer. And also those clutch moments in the last few minutes where it gets really, really intense. Also, if you're wondering, there are little things following my support. That's a skill of him. He can summon NPCs to help him out. One of the opponents has a skill where he can summon turrets. You probably saw them as well. Now the opponent does a weird move. I'm ahead quite a bit in victory points, as you can see, 13-9. And he's actually going through my base and trying to get some cores up there, I don't know. And I catch his tank off guard because I saw him, obviously. I have vision in my base and also the vision tower. I think nobody actually finished the other two side objectives in this match. He gets away though, but he wasted a bunch of time. He didn't achieve anything there, and time is crucial for him. Like, if he wants to get 4 more victory points, he has to cash in those 3 cores rather quickly. Here we get a team fight. His tank is still low because I catch him off guard earlier, but I don't really get in a good position to do damage to the other ones. I'm trying to poke on his tank now a little bit. There goes the wall down as well, but it was not perfectly placed. He can go around that. Tried to catch him with the skill, but it didn't really work. Like, my tank has a skill where he can pull an enemy, but it never really got to work. I think I might get the kill on the support there. Nope. Well, but again, I wasted time, which is probably good for me because I'm ahead 4 victory points. And at that point I said, okay, I could try to go for total vision. Let's split up here. But he realized that as well and actually engaged me rather well here. Gets his tank in. However, his support is in a great position, and I'm not sure what his gunner is actually doing. Oh, there he is. Yeah, I blink out my support, which works fairly well. And then for some reason I have my gunner on his tank, which was probably a huge mistake. Get my support in there to finish off the gunner, but now both my heroes are really, really low. I think I'll get away here, but it's not looking good. Especially because now it's an interesting situation. He actually has 3 cores. He just needs 1 more and being able to catch them all in. But my rigs are down for 30 seconds, so it's actually possible for him to come back. Well, probably not. I think he's 1 core too low, actually. I don't think he can turn us around. No, probably not. Even if he catches them in, that's probably not going to be enough. And now he moves his tank in here, maybe to find another core or something. I'm not sure what his goal was here. But it doesn't seem like he's picking up the other cores with his other rigs either. So I'm trying to get his tank here with my support, and I find out that's not working well. And my support actually gets taken down. Doesn't matter though. 30 seconds left, and he didn't even bother to cash in the other cores. So at that point, that's what I mentioned earlier. Like, at that point, the game is over, but there's still there's still a minute to play left to play. Well, 20 seconds now, but there was a minute a few seconds ago, and it was pretty much over. Okay, I got a huge lead, obviously, but again, yeah, it just takes too much time for him to get points. There was another mechanic in Arena of Fate that is not here in Arena of Fate. There's a whoever gets 10 victory points at any time will win the match instantly. So if you get 10 victory points, the match is over, even if the timer has not run out yet. That's not a thing here either. So yeah, I really like that in Arena of Fate as well. Still, I like the idea of having a timer in here, but I think it works a little better in Arena of Fate. But that's a totally different game, so it's not really a good comparison. I just want mention it to point out what could be even better about this timer mechanic. But I still like a victory point based competitive mobility-esque mix, I guess it is. Okay, so let's switch to the launcher. Yeah, I'm over here now. Sorry if that's confusing, I hope not. But camera placement is a little bit more convenient over here. So this is the main menu, and you can see that's my current team. And we can do multiple things. So the most interesting thing is gearing up your rigs. So let's do that first. Or, well, customizing your squad, I guess. So you can choose which characters to bring. So you can see there are 3 of every class. 3 gunners, 3 mechanics. Well, let's go through them so you can see them. So 3 gunners.
Nobody orders me around. Wrecking rigs is hard work, and I'm very good at my job.
3 mechanics.
It's the pilots who scare me.
You want cores, and I want money. Everybody wins.
I am part man, part machine, and all grotesque.
This is my
And
chance.
3
too.
summoners.
This is my moment.
Your clumsy schemes will come to nothing, Earthborn.
Do not be afraid. Your sacrifice will set you free.
And last but not least, 3
How does
tanks.
it feel to meet a living legend?
There are winners and losers, but there can only be one champion.
I have a lifetime of mistakes to make up for.
So I kind of like the character designs. They're pretty pointless, obviously, like the pilot designs, I should say, because they don't really, they don't even appear in the game. Like, I think their head icons are somewhere on the screen, but besides that, they're in their rigs. You don't see them. You heard them talk, obviously. You hear them talk. But I still like most of the designs. They're pretty cool. Like, they're pretty reasonable for the most part. I mean, okay, this one is pretty crazy.
After me, they destroyed the project. Confidence levels at 10%.
I
And-
cannot deny destiny.
She looks pretty out of place as well, but she probably has some reasonable, like she has probably some background that explains her outfit. I don't know, it's a little weird. But in general, I like the characters, especially
Do you really
Knockout.
want to step into the ring with me?
like while her voice is, and her character seems to be pretty cliche, I really like that she's just a big woman. You don't see that much in other games. Like, she's just a big woman, and that's pretty cool, and she's pretty impressive. And I would be scared if she would try to, like, if she would be angry at me or something. So yeah, I really like that character design. And most of the others are pretty cool as well. Like, they're
make
pretty
good
reasonable
videos,
for the most
but
part,
I'm
and
the
I
one in
like that.
charge.
Like, they're cool and stylish, but they're not completely crazy overstyled.
Nobody in the system knows rigs better than I do.
I mean, she kind of is, I guess. But still, most of them are fairly reasonable, but still cool and distinct. And I kind of like that. So that's pretty good. Okay, so as I mentioned, that's a pilot you choose. The pilot, they decide which, well, the pilot, every pilot has 1 rig, but there are 4 different base, or 4 different kinds of rigs, I guess. The summoner, the tank, the gunner, and the mechanic, obviously. And you can gear them up, as mentioned earlier. So there are 7 slots here. 1 is fixed. That's the special move skill in the middle. That one is fixed and depends on the pilot, obviously. And that's the ultimate unlocks on level 5. You can see it by little V, the Roman 5. I don't know. Is it Roman? It should be Roman. So yeah, that's the ultimate. Then you have a weapon slot. I think that's what's it called? Probably say somewhere. Body slot. Yeah, it's a body slot, a utility slot, a class slot, a defensive slot, and a sensor slot. And all of them do multiple things. So the weapon slot defines your basic attack, like how much damage do you deal, how much range do you have, and it also has an active skill usually. And you can see we have multiple options over here. And the thing is, those options are not character. For every character, there are, or not categorized by character, they're categorized by class. So those are the options for, like, those are the weapons I have available. You can unlock them. You can unlock more and stuff like that. So those are the weapons I have available which fit for a mechanic, because right now I have a mechanic selected, so it only shows the ones for mechanics. And if I click through them, you can see that it actually changes how the character looks. It actually changes the weapon, which is pretty cool and makes for a lot of customization. And I really like that. And as I said, they have different base stats for your auto attack, DPS, and range. And they also have different abilities, and the abilities unlock at different levels. As you can see here, there are those two unlock at level 1, and those two, which are way stronger, unlock at level 3. So that's how it works. Then you have the body slot, which defines, I think, your hit points and another potentially active ability. Sometimes it's a passive as well. And you can see it actually changes the body as well. So there's a lot of different things you can choose. And then there's the utility slot, which is usually how fast you are, and often, like in a lot of cases, a movement ability or something like that. And again, it changes how the rig looks, which is really, really cool. Like, I really love the look of those rigs in general. They look amazing, and having them being customizable to that degree is really, really awesome. So I really like that. I think you don't see if you change something here. No, that doesn't have any visual representation. Those are just some passive abilities usually. Like, there's the class one, and then there is the like, let's take a look at some of them, why not. So this one is the default for this character actually, which is a logic rerouter, protects the mechanic from being stunned while the ability is not on cooldown. Blocking a stun puts the ability on cooldown. So it's not really a passive, it's more like a reactive ability. It automatically activates and negates a stun every few seconds. And instead we could go for a reciprocal restoration, which gives us some heal apparently. So those are all different options, and then you have another few options for your defensive slot and another few options for your sensor slot. So there's a bunch of different stuff here, and keep in mind that's just the abilities for the mechanics, and that completely changes if you go to, well, that's still no, that's a summoner. Yeah, that completely changes for summoners. Or let's choose a tank, because the weapons for the tanks look pretty cool. So let's go for the weapons for the tank, because they're amazing. So he has those stompers, then he has that thing, which looks really cool, and a flamethrower, and the palm rocket, and most amazingly probably the ground pounder with the smiley on the smiley. It's pretty cool. And the pulse cannon, which is actually not very impressive, but it's pretty strong. So, okay, one more important thing about this gear is, as I mentioned earlier, you can unlock it. Like, you get crates and you find gear in there. I'm going to show you that in a moment. And you might have noticed there's a quantity thingy over here. That doesn't mean it's consumable. Don't worry. That was my first thought. I was, wait, are those things consumable? That would be terrible. That would be, wow, that would be so much pay to win in there. Especially if you take a look at the prices for those thingies. So no, they're not consumable. There's just a quantity for two reasons. A, if you, let's say if you get 3 tanks in your team.
Anyone can fight a battle.
And now you want to give all of them the pulse cannon. You can't if you only have one, because now it's given to that guy. So if I want to give it to Vice as well, I can't. It says it's equipped already, so I can't do that. But if I want to give it to all 3 of them, I need 3 of them. I don't think that's a scenario that comes up a lot, because I imagine the developers will try to balance the game in a way where you usually pick 3 different classes, or at least 2 different classes, and keep in mind the gear is categorized by class, so a tank weapon cannot be used by a mechanic, obviously. So that's probably not a big concern. The other thing, however, you can do is, if you have more than one of the one of the same item, then you can use them to craft other ones. I cannot show you how that works because I didn't unlock any blueprints yet. So basically, when you level up the heroes, and you level them up by playing, you unlock blueprints, which is a blueprint a blueprint for gear, and then you can use spare gear to craft that one specific gear. I'm not quite sure how it works exactly, because as I said, I didn't unlock any yet, so cannot show you that. But in general, that's why there is a quantity, because you can get duplicates and you can use them to either equip multiple of your rigs with the same gear, or craft specific gear from blueprints. Okay, so that's enough about squads, I think. Let's summarize it really quick, or let's give you my opinion on it. I really like how deep this customization is. Like, this is really, really crazy. If you compare it to MOBAs, for example, or if you compare it to RTS, that's not fair because RTS doesn't have customization before the match, except for picking your race usually. That's completely different from MOBAs, where you pick usually some things. In League of Legends, for example, you have masteries and runes, and that's a fairly simple system in comparison to the customization you have here, though. And you actually can come up with very, very different strategies, which is really interesting. It's almost like a deck building game, kind of. You come up with a complete strategy for, like, you can choose 3 different rigs and customize them with completely different abilities, all of them. You have to keep in mind the whole leveling thing, because that's kind of really, really heavily interact with this as well. Like, while you're in the game, you have to level them up in a certain order, and leveling them up will unlock certain abilities, and you might want to choose different ones depending on which character you want to level up at which point. And so there's a lot of thoughts you can put into this, and it's really, really complex and really deep, I think, as well, and makes up for a lot of possible strategies, especially because there's so many items that probably there will be a lot of strategies. Like, people who are into trying out new things and experimenting will love this. They will love this part of the game because they can come up with crazy combos and crazy ideas which nobody else thought of before. And that's really, really neat part of the game, I think. And as I mentioned, it's really interesting during the match as well, because you have chosen your customization already, but you did not choose which or it's at least not set in stone which character you will level up first, or if you will focus on one, or if you split the XP or the levels between all of them and stuff like that. And if you build up, like, you could, for example, before the match starts, come up with a strategy that allows you for multiple level up paths during the match, depending on how it goes, for example, or depending on the map form maybe, and stuff like that. Or you could just log into one strategy and follow that one. And I think it's a pretty cool system. I really like it. And also, as I mentioned, it's amazing that every fucking piece of gear, well, not everyone, but all of the main pieces of gear changes how the character looks. That's really, really, really cool. And it's kind of a problem because you cannot tell apart the tanks necessarily anymore. They're still pretty distinct. Okay, so those are 3 tanks, but they look very different. But you see that they're all tanks at first glance, and it might be a little hard to say which one is which if you're not super familiar with them, I guess, because, as I said, they switch out their weapons and stuff all the time, so you actually have probably to keep the color in mind or something. But it's still at least easy to tell apart which one is a tank, which one is a mechanic, which one is a summoner, because those all have the same silhouette. And I really like this customization system, and they look awesome. The design is just amazing in my opinion. I really love it. And look at the detail. Like, it's not super crazy detailed because that would be stupid, because you see them like that small on the screen, but they're reasonably detailed and they have really, really cool design. They just look really amazing. And I think there will be skins. Oh, there's actually one. Okay, I didn't saw any of them yet, but there are apparently skins as well. Let's take a look. Can we see that? We can. They're called alter egos, so it's basically a different variant. I don't know, maybe his sports ball wise. Yeah, it's a skin. It completely changes how the tank looks. Crazy. I'm not sure if that's good though, because now it will be really hard to tell that this is Vice if you're not familiar with the skin, because it actually looks completely different. Oh yeah, because it switched out the weapons as well. Because, oh yeah, I didn't mention that earlier. Every character or every rig has one default gear for every slot. So if we take a look at this, for example, there's a sports ball Vice's pulverizer, and he also always can use that. The DF stands for default, I think, and they can always use that. So even if you don't have any gear, like not enough gear available, then you can use that. Oh, it seems like... Oh, no, I cannot switch it because I cannot actually choose them because I don't have them. So, yeah. So that's another thing. There are alter egos, which are not only skins, they also have a different default gear, apparently. So basically, they're a different character completely, again. Or is a different gear. Let's check really quick. So his default spot is the pulverizer, the crumple panels, and the momentum shifter. And Weiss himself has a pulse cannon, proximity response, and a frequency adaptation. So yeah, it's basically another character. Wow, that's pretty crazy. So there are even more characters apparently. Okay, and they will probably implement more, as you do with mobiles, not mobiles. Okay, let's get to the crates, shall we? So this is a crate open screen. We can buy one. I have enough gold for that. So there are crates from different seasons. As you can see, the game is around since a little longer. It just entered early access, but it was in a closed beta before that. And there are different seasons, and you get different crates, and they have different items. And it shows you all the items you can get from every crate down here. And they all cost the same amount of money. If you buy more of them, they get a little cheaper. Only if you pay for them with the pay-to-win money, though, like the real money currency. It will always cost 1,000 gold per crate if you buy them with gold. It's not called gold. It's something else. I don't know. Let's just buy one to demonstrate this. Yeah, buy, please. No, don't buy more. Close. Okay. Go back and open the crate. Go. It comes up and we get a piece of equipment, and it's a graphene matrix. So it's a body part for a mechanic. It says down there. There we go. Graphene matrix, and it gives triggered ability. The mechanics buffs the most damaged nearby allied rig whenever the mechanic uses an active ability. The target is granted a speed bonus and will negate the next attack against them. Okay, so it unlocks to level 2. So there we go, another piece of equipment. I'm not sure if I have that already. Let's take a look at the shop, shall we? For some reason, there are two different ways of buying crates. You can go to the shop and then to this screen, which doesn't even show what is in the crates, which is pretty unfortunate in my opinion. Or you can go to the crate opening screen and click on the crates there, and there it shows what's in there. So that's a little weird. I'm not sure why that's different. Anyway, so in the shop you can buy pilots. I have all of them unlocked already though, because I got the premium package. I think they're basically two different. I'm going to talk about business model in a moment, or about the early access business model. Let's just keep. I just have them unlocked because I played the closed beta basically. I can buy crates. I'm not sure how I got the alter ego actually. Maybe you only get them with like special events. Can I buy it from here?
There's no substitute for the bet.
No, I don't know how to unlock them actually. Not sure. Maybe you just get them for special events or something. Couldn't tell you, actually. Couldn't tell you. I can buy gear crates from here as well. Interesting. Anyway. So, yeah, that's what you can buy from the shop. And I'm honestly... like, this business model is pretty fair. It's not amazing. It's not just cosmetics. But you usually can't get away with just cosmetics if you want to keep your business alive and you're not called Valve. So most MOBAs will have some sort of meaningful progression, which you can pay for real money, with real money for as well. And in this case, it's heroes and gear, and that basically puts it at a similar situation as League of Legends, where you can buy heroes and runes. So that's fairly similar. The difference maybe is that runes are actually a straight upgrade, at least to some degree. Not completely, but kind of. I'm not sure if that's still true. I didn't play League for a while, so that might actually be wrong info. But anyway, in this case, every piece of gear is basically on the same level. There's no higher tier gear. Obviously, some of them might be a little stronger, some are a little weaker because they're not perfectly balanced. Also, there will probably be some combinations. So it's still kind of, you can still argue that on a high skill level, having more choice in case of pilots and having more choice in case of gear will make you stronger and will give you combos your opponent might not have because he didn't unlock that stuff. So there is definitely some sort, like a certain amount of pay to win in this business model, but it's not crazy. It's not really ridiculous. And it comes down to how fast you actually unlock things. But I couldn't tell you really, because that's the other thing. Let's talk about the early access business model right now. I have a bunch of stuff for free because the game will be free to play at release, but to get into the early access you have to pay. And there are two different packs, I think one for 20 and one for 30 bucks. And for everyone who played in the closed beta, got the $20 pack for free. So the $20 pack includes all the pilots apparently, and I'm not sure if all gear or at least a lot of gear. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think it's just a lot of gear and not all of it. It might be all of it actually. I don't know. One piece of each anyway. And the $30 pack will actually include everything they will ever release. So you will get all the heroes, all the future heroes or pilots as well. Even the ones that are not released yet. So that's a pretty fair business model again. So that's pretty good. But it has a problem that the player base right now is fairly small, which is kind of on purpose, obviously. Oops. This game is still in beta, so they don't want to have the huge player base, but then again, it's a multiplayer focused game, so they need some player base to keep the people, you need a player base to keep matchmaking working. That's obviously important. However, keep in mind, it's not a 50-minute 5v5 game, it's a 15-minute 1v1 game, which means your player base can be way smaller, and matchmaking will still be operatable. In comparison to a game that takes longer and has more players in it. So that makes it easier for them, so it's not that bad. So they might be good with that. I think it's important that they will not drag out the early access phase for too long, because then the player base will die off and they have to go into free-to-play fairly soon, is what I'm trying to say. Because without that, they will probably have no player base anymore at some point, I imagine. But who knows? Maybe I'm off. But if this goes free to play, and it will, or when this goes free to play, I should say, because it definitely will on release, then I think this will be pretty enjoyable to a lot of people, and I can see this becoming fairly popular. It's not your regular MOBA, because it's not really about team play. It's 1v1 for the most part, at least the main mode right now. Oh yeah, we have to talk about modes as well. I almost forgot. So it's more intense, it's more micro-intensive, but it's not as crazy like an RTS. You don't have to keep that many things in mind as in StarCraft 2, for example. So it's somewhere between the road, and I think that might be appealing to a lot of people. And it's quite intense to control 3 characters at once. It's very overwhelming at the start. The tutorial does a pretty good job at easing you in, with starting you with one character only, then adding a second one, and then adding a third one, and then giving you an easy bot match to train against that. So the tutorial works fairly well. Still, my first match against a real opponent was, wow, I was overwhelmed like crazy and yeah, I don't know, it was just crazy for me. And also, what I get wrong all the time is, like, you choose the characters with 1, 2, 3, and you can press 4 to select all of them, and you obviously activate the abilities with Q, W, E, and R. And I've switched the rows all the time on accident. So I want to activate the Q ability, I press 1 and switch to the other character, or the other way around. It's pretty annoying, but I think it's a thing to get used to. So yeah, let's talk about game modes really quick. So we can go play. If you play press quick match, that's what you saw earlier. It's a matchmaking against a human player, and apparently you get double XP and Jovians. Oh, I think that's actually... I'm not quite sure. I think that is talking about the meta progression XP. Jovians is the gold currency. So this just gets rewarded pretty well, because it's the main game mode right now. Versus, which sounds like the main game mode, is actually not. So Versus is... well, the thing is, if you press... There are 2 options right now you can do. Well, 3. You can press this button, you can this button or this button, which does the exactly same thing right now. I'm going to show you that in a moment. Or you can go for this mode. So let's do this really quick. So we press on Versus, and this will give you this one and this, and they're actually the same again. No, actually, okay, I'm lying. Never mind. Let's go back and start from the beginning. So you can go quick match, which is matchmaking against one enemy player, 1v1. There we go. You can press Versus. You have multiple options here. You have the Versus AI, where you play against 1v1 against an AI opponent with 4 different difficulties. Then there's 2v2. It's not really 2v2. If you go here, you go to the server browser, and you can choose to play 1v1 or 2v2 or Investation. You can play all the modes here. It's basically custom game. That's what I said. That's why I said earlier it's the same as the option on the right. So you can choose between maps. There is 2v2. I didn't try 2v2 yet. That seems pretty crazy. There are 2 1v1 maps. There's one 2v2 map, an Investation, which is like a co-op versus AI mode, like a horde mode, basically has 1 map as well. and you can choose a server here, and those are open matches, or you can create your own one if you want to. Then right now there's rank play is locked. I imagine this will be similar to quick match 1v1, but I'm not quite sure. It doesn't really say much about it. Oh, actually it says something about it if you click on it. Interesting. So it is not implemented yet, but when it will be implemented, you have to be level 10 to play it, and there will be 7 skill-based divisions. And let's see, once played winning rank match awards rep. Yeah, okay, that's just an elo system. It doesn't really say if this is 1v1. I imagine it's 1v1, but I'm not sure. And then there are tournaments as well, which you can apparently start ad hoc, which is interesting. Single elimination tournaments. So, okay, cool. Then, as I said, there's the infestation mode, which is basically... I'm gonna jump into one in a moment. Let me show you custom first. So custom is the exact same thing as we would go with versus and then 2v2. So I'm not sure why that is split up right now. So a bunch of different modes, as you can see, and even more to come. Let's play this really quick. So you can play solo or with other players in co-op. I'm not gonna finish it. I just want to show you. So the crazy thing about this is that there are so many modes, and that really confuses me, because usually one of the big issues for multiplayer only games is that if you have too many different modes, you will split up your community, and that reduces the amount of players per mode, which causes problems for your matchmaking system if you have too few players for one mode, obviously. So I'm a little worried that they might have too many modes, but then again, it's 1v1 or 2v2, so and fairly short match times, so maybe it's not too huge of a problem, too big of a problem. So this might work out. Anyway, this is the horde mode. Basically, you have this thing in the middle which you have to defend, and then you can see you have multiple lines of turrets around it, and then there will be waves, and in every wave you will get one new spawn of one of those things, and all the ones you didn't destroy yet will spawn new ones. So I'm gonna go destroy this thing now, because if I don't, there will be 2 for the next wave, which means more enemies at the same time. I have 3 tanks right now, which is horrible. Anyway, you can also pick up those power-ups up here, I think, apparently. Yeah, looks like it. And you can cash in cores. As you can see, I just got a few cores here. And if you cash them, basically every core is 1 level. So you get levels for cashing in cores. And you have to keep the enemy spawner thingies down, because if you don't, there will be too many at the same time. Basically, it's a game around, like, you have to be quick, because it's really hard to destroy those thingies, cash in the cores, and prep up for the next wave. And do the same thing again. If you're not quick enough, more of those things will spawn at the same time, and you will run into problems at some point, especially because the map is fairly large, so it's hard to maneuver around. And yeah, it might be interesting in co-op though, but I didn't find it too fun solo. So yeah, but it's interesting that they have this in the first place. Okay, let's go to the option menu and then wrap up the video, shall we? So the option menu is actually great. It's really extensive. It has I didn't miss anything so far. It's really good. So we have multiple camera options: center camera on double tap, selection on none. So you can press double tap is the default. So if I press 1-1, then it will focus on my character, which is like on my first character. If I press 2-2, it focuses on the second one. None turns this off. I'm not sure what center camera to a rig when selected. Oh, if I press 2, the camera will instantly jump to my second character. Then the camera can chase, or it doesn't. Like, you can keep it on that if you want to, on like following a character if you want to. Break camera on edge pane. What is that? Option for breaking camera chase. Oh, you break the chase. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Or on selection. Then you can change the edge pan speed. That's really important as well for game. Like, yeah, that's really important for a lot of people actually, because a lot of people prefer very different settings for edge pan speed. So how fast the camera moves around if you could move the like this one. How fast is this happening? Then control groups. Enable quarter selection. I actually didn't read anything in the option menu yet, because there's so much. So let's actually go through this together. Option for enabling quarter selection, which allows the user to press multiple control group hotkeys down simultaneously to combine those control groups into a single selection. Oh, good. I was thinking earlier that would be a good feature, but apparently it is in there already, and it's actually activated. So if you press 1 and 2 at the same time, you will select the first and the second rig together, and not only the one you released last, or what pressed first, or whatever. So that's cool. Then you can either like if you turn this one off, the game will choose your Windows mouse settings, which on default have mouse acceleration. So I recommend turning this off and just customizing it for the game with mouse speed here and turning off mouse acceleration. Well, not necessarily. Mouse acceleration can make sense in an RTS game, I guess. Usually in a first-person shooter it's terrible, but in a game where you actually have to move the mouse around on a map, it depends on if you're used to it or not, and if you like. It's personal preference, so it's good. That's the thing about option menus, right? It's personal preference, so it's good that there's an option. So that's good. Also, there are different quick cast options. You can turn it off. You can have it on up. So you press. If it is off, or if it is off, it's your regular cast. So you activate the spell. You click on the map. It makes the skill happen. If you have quick cast on up, you press the button down. It shows you the area which will be affected. You release the button, and the spell goes off. And if it is on, if you have it on down, there we go. It just activates the spell as soon as you press the button down. Also, there's attack, move, quick cast. Awesome. That's really important for games like that. It means that if you press A on the ground, it will instantly make an attack move there without having you to click with the mouse as well. And you can have an option for focusing the window when you find a match. That's really good as well. A bunch of good options here. Then the graphics options menu is really good as well. You have resolution options. You have borderless, full screen, window. Thank God, borderless mode. Then you have a bunch of options here, and there's a tooltip to all of them. Which usually talks about how much it affects the performance. I would like this to tell me if it affects the CPU or the GPU performance. That would be important for fiddling around the settings. But in general, there's a good description for a lot of options here. You can turn off blur. I have VSync on for recording purposes. Actually, I think VSync doesn't actually lock the frame rate in this case, so it could probably turn it off. Doesn't really matter. Well, yeah, no, it doesn't really matter. It's probably a little bit more performant to keep it off, and it's not that useful usually. And you have a bunch of options. In general, the game runs amazing, by the way. I have everything on max. Okay, my computer is pretty good, but still, it's not like super top-notch high tier end tier computer. It's a pretty good computer, but it's a year old now, or more than a year probably, so it's not high end anymore. I have everything on max and I get 80 to 100 FPS, so I'm impressed, and the game looks good. It's not like it looks shitty. It actually looks pretty decent in my opinion. And yeah, a bunch of different options if you want to fiddle around with that. I imagine it runs on the potato if you keep everything on low. Then a bunch of different voice sliders, which is cool, and a mute button for total mute. So that's the option menu is just amazing, I have to say. Then you can customize your whole interface. You can scale all the different UI elements. You can actually, I want to activate this. This is how the health bar changes color depending on the amount of damage your character has. Show portraits and minimap if you want that. Enable chat filter, enable chat notification. Okay, that's not too important. But having all those UI scales here and customizable hotkeys for everything, that's really good. Including a reset hotkey button, really important as well. Only thing missing here, which is a little nitpick, but which would be useful, is having a second binding, like an alternate binding for everything. So you can set up two different key bindings for the same thing. That's really good as well if you can do that. So yeah, the option menu is just amazing. What should I say? It's really, really great. In general, the game feels very polished. I'm not even sure what they're still working on. Like, why is this early access? This seems pretty finished. Well, obviously there are a few game modes missing yet, still, and they will probably put in a little bit more content before they actually release. There's also a leaderboard which probably can be improved on because we don't actually see much here except for the leaderboard. That doesn't say any rating or anything, so that's a little unfortunate. I guess that will change quite a bit when we have the ranked system, obviously. Trains, I think, playing against the bots. Oh, actually, you can replay the tutorial. Okay, good. So that's the tutorial missions. They're pretty decent, as I mentioned earlier. And you also have daily missions where you have different tasks, which will give you the gold, or what's it called? I forgot it again. Juvine something, or gear. So overall, that's pretty good. Oh yeah, one last thing I want to mention. How expensive is buying gear with real money? It costs 169 of those feds, I think they're called. And if we get feds, if you take a look at that, actually you can't see that because that's in the browser now. I'm going to tell you anyway. So if you buy 400 feds, so that's basically 2 pieces of gear, a little more than 2 pieces of gear. That's $5. So 1 piece of gear is around $2.50 or $2 maybe. And if it has different packs, 800 fats, 2,400 fats, 5,200 fats, and a maximum pack with 12,000 fats, where it costs $100. So you gain a little, it gets cheaper the more you buy, basically. And so around around 1 cent per fat, not exactly, but that's a good rule of thumb, I think. And so 1 pack is around 170 or $2 if you buy buy fats in small packages, and a little less than that, a little less, like 150 I think if you buy the big package. So around that, which is fairly expensive, I have to say, for 1 piece of gear. That's quite a bit, especially because it's randomized and it can be one you already have. So that's pretty hefty. But then keep in mind that you can unlock them for free as well, and it's one of the very few things you can actually buy in this game. So I actually feel that the business model might be, while pretty fair for the consumer, might be a little too, well, not be profitable enough for the company, but I'm not sure. It's hard to tell without data. It feels like they will not sell as much stuff as other games do, and that's a little concerning potentially. But at the same time, it's pretty fair for the consumers. So who knows? Who knows? I'm not a specialist on that topic, and it's in general hard to answer questions like that without data. So yeah, here we go. I think that's everything I wanted to say. It's called Dropzone. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure how much more I will play it. I will probably play a little more, maybe on release, maybe in the next few days. I don't know. I'm not sure. The thing is, it's really intense. I really have to focus on this. It's very stressful for me to play this. It's fun. It's rewarding, but it's stressful. It's just really, really stressful, and I don't really have much time to play a lot of games right now, so that comes into play as well as another factor. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna play it much, but I have to say I really like it. It's not my kind of game per se, but I don't see me playing this like full time, focusing on it, getting really good, because as I said, it's just not my kind of game really. But I see me playing this a little bit and having fun for a while and fiddling around with different customizations and stuff like that. And especially what I see is other people enjoying this quite a bit, because I see a lot of potential here for people having fun with this. Like, it's a really, really deep and complex and rewarding and intense competitive game. And there's this deep customization system, a lot of different strategies and tactics. And I think it has the right amount of like micro for a lot of people. Like, that's obviously personal preference. How much micro and macro do you want to do, or do you want to do in a game? And I think this hits a sweet spot, or it hits a middle ground between MOBA and RTS, and I think that's pretty good, because there aren't many games that are in this middle ground so far. So it basically, yeah, this is kind of a niche, I guess, and that means that if this niche has a lot of people, all those people might be interested in this, because there aren't too many other games in this niche. So that might be pretty good for a lot of people, I think, and I see a lot of people enjoying this quite a bit. And as I said, it's very polished, it runs amazingly, and it looks great. It will be free to play on release. Right now it's $20 or $30 depending on the package you buy. And yeah, it's called Dropzone. It's available in Steam Early Access right now, and I recommend you to either give it a shot now or wait for release and play it for free, which is probably what you want to do if you're not super mega hyped for it right now. But I would definitely give it a go if you're in general interested in this kind of genre, like a little bit at least, like in MOBAs or RTS or both. Then you should probably give this a go when it becomes free to play. So yeah, I said this again, but I will say it again. It's called Dropzone, and I'm TH Point. Thanks a lot for watching. If you're interested in more coverage like this, and this is a show I do well, semi-regularly. I try to do it regularly, but it's hard for me to do too many videos of this because it's kind of time-intensive, time-consuming to do these videos. Not necessarily the recording itself, but the preparation for it and everything surrounding it. So yeah, I cover different games, usually indie games with interesting mechanics, but everything that looks somewhat interesting to me, which usually means unique mechanics or interesting tactical turn-based games or something like that. So yeah, if you like this video, feel free to press the like button and maybe consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks all for watching, have fun, and see you next time.